sing a song. 604. 604, if you could stand. 604. It's a grand thing to be a Christian. It's the best thing I know. It's a grand thing to follow Jesus anywhere and everywhere we go. For it's a grand thing to be a soldier in his army here below. It's the grandest thing to be a Christian. It's the best thing I know. One more time. It's a grand thing to be a Christian. It's the best thing I know. It's a grand thing to follow Jesus anywhere and everywhere we go. For it's a grand thing to be a soldier in the army here below. It's the grandest thing to be a Christian. It's the best thing I know. Amen.
All right. Turn, if you would, to 1 Kings. We looked at last week. We went over this. Father, bless our lesson. Hopefully we have our lesson flyer and we'll go over this. And anyway, I'm telling you, I had that kid last night. He is as strong as a bull, Montana. Man. And he was wrestling with me. He was sweating. He was sweating like a pig. And he wanted his grandmother. He wanted Granny. All right. The key characters: 1 Kings, Solomon, Rehoboam, Jeroboam. And we reviewed that last week. Ahab. Who wore the pants in the house? Ahab. Jezebel did. Elijah. Asa was the good king. Jehoshaphat was a good king. I think the prophet says, if it weren't for Jehoshaphat, I wouldn't give you the time of day. I think Ahab was present then. I think Jehoshaphat, that's where the prophet says, make this valley full of ditches. It's that story. Make this valley full of ditches. Rehoboam refused to relieve the people of the tax burden placed upon them by his father Solomon, resulting in Israel's rebellion. By the way, before the Antichrist comes on board, it's in Daniel, it says the guy before that will be, and I found this interesting, it'll be in my sermon, a raiser of taxes. A raiser of taxes.
Talking about Biden?
Yeah. Well, but we've always had the taxes, haven't we? Oh, no, I take that back. When did the taxes start? 1913?
Yeah.
19... Pardon?
The 16th Amendment. Personal income tax.
The 16th Amendment, 1913. So this stuff has been in the works for a while, raiser of taxes. Who knows? What was the... Anybody know the percentage back then?
Couple percent.
Oh, you didn't know that? No, there was no income tax. In other words, the government, if they're going to wage a war, let's say the Revolution, the Civil War, any war, First World War was after that. They got to raise this money somehow.
So before 1913, where they said, how did they generate money? They know they didn't have any property tax, or they didn't have.
There could have been that.
I think it was tariffs and duty.
It was all
Tariffs,
good. It was all
duty.
good.
Yeah.
If you bought coffee, it was a tax on that.
I don't believe so. I thought it was stuff coming into the country and going out of the country.
Now, we learned in school that, I learned this in college, from liberals, I mean, these guys If you want to, you want to be around liberals and these eggheads today that are spouting off with Biden and all, just go to the university. Just go there.
There wasn't even a quorum when they voted for this tax. It was like a day before Christmas. Everybody had gone home, and they shoved it through, and it never got properly voted or put into the thing.
Well, there you
It
go.
was just shoved on us.
So the taxes, now I lost my train of thought. Oh, they said that in class they said, well, the politician was expected to make money through corruption.
Yeah.
He made his money then on top of the duty by corruption, and it's just carried on now until the swamp is so deep. At least that's what we learned I learned back in the early 70s. Taxes. What other tax could there be? I decided to look it up in the lexicon. Taxes, when you and I think of taxes, it basically is the same thing. Is if you, let's say we planted a lot of flowers yesterday. After we were done, we felt, use the word, we felt really taxed. So if you want the definition of it, we felt taxed. Right now, I feel very taxed. I was sore the same day. When you're sore the same day, that means you're getting old. You're supposed to feel sore the next day. The wife and I both feel taxed from weeding and planting flowers yesterday. No. By the way, they were yours. So just so you know, we could talk about it after service. And so we felt taxed. So where in the Bible are people taxed? Worn out. What story? Major story.
The Jews were.
And where and how?
I'm assuming crossing the Red Sea.
What was it?
Making bricks. And they were called a what, I think? Who was over them? Overseers, a taskmaster, taskmaster. And they were, I think they were Jews themselves. They get somebody who's Jewish to rule the Jews, just like go-between, or it could have been Pharaoh's guys. And so they tax the people, so you feel worn out. Well, when the taxes are due in 2 days, when are taxes due here?
Tomorrow.
They're due tomorrow, and when you pay all that, you feel real taxed. Worn out. It is, we preach that's one of the last signs, that's one of the last things in the last days, is they grind the people, the poor people down, they grind them down. They take all their money, they take it all. And by the way, and who's in charge? There's two groups of people that rule it then. It's Isaiah 3.
The poor people,
The people who are in charge. Women, and what's the other group? Huh? Children. Women and children. Children are suing their parents. So what Biden wants, these millennials, these dumb millennials, they can't tie their own, it's Velcro all the way. And they're the ones ruling it. Children and women.
Did you know that, I'm sorry, did you know the new fad at a baseball game is go stand?
Go stand.
Like at a baseball game, the millennials want to stand up the whole game and drink beer and hot dogs. I just found that out.
Well, they could stand for me.
I just thought that was so dumb.
Well, it is dumb. They specialize in it. If it's dumb, they do it dumber. Well, he refuses to relieve the people. He listens to the millennials instead of to the aged people. I think we all know the story. 1 Kings 12. And because he does this, and I felt bad for Rehoboam, but it says there that, well, it was God's plan to do it that way. Otherwise, the 10 tribes wouldn't break away. If he had agreed with the aged men, reduced the taxes, everybody would have stayed with Rehoboam. But because of that, they desert him. They desert him, fulfilling the prophecy of the splitting of the kingdom of 10 tribes and 2 tribes. Okay, what he is noted for, we ended here. The prayer for wisdom, the building of the temple. We discussed the prefab. It's built off-site, so when it comes together, it already lines up. It's just like any other construction. When in engineering school, when you make a design, now we were mechanical, so it's not a stationary figure is what kind of engineering? Anybody know what stationary? A bridge is stationary. A house is stationary. Civil engineering. Pardon? Statics. Now, all engineers take that course. Statics means it's stationary, static, stationary. Then the next, you take 3 classes, statics. The next class is dynamics. Dynamic, when you say it's a dynamic person, he's real active and very charismatic, we'll say. Dynamics. So a car is moving. That's mechanical engineering. An earth mover is moving. And so that's what a mechanical engineer does. And then after that, you take another class called kinematics. That's a pretty difficult class, and it's advanced dynamics. There's some other things going on with those physics, but it's prefab. So before you build something, or before we ever did anything, the idea was you don't use CAD. What do they use today to make a drawing?
CAD.
CAD. They still use CAD.
Yeah, computer-aided drawing.
The architect, he's there with his little button going, drawing his lines with CAD and having all these pictures that are already done. You want as much stuff prepared for you and then make alterations to it. But the thing was that we were taught all you need is a paper, a blank sheet of paper. You can do it on a napkin in a restaurant, and a pencil. You always make a sketch.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to have a visual of this. And anytime my kids see me, let's skip that, or my men, let's skip that. Well, you want to make a sign, you plan ahead. Did you spell it right? Is there enough space for all these words? You've seen the joke where it says plan ahead and the last 2 letters are really little and off to the side because they didn't plan ahead. You always make a sketch and plan ahead. Well, this is a prefab. It is planned ahead. It is put down on paper. It is made in advance. God planned all this ahead of time. And so this is the off-site. We're not on site yet. We're not up there in heaven yet. We are off-site. So all the hammering, chisel, all the mistakes that are going to be made, anything that's got to be knocked off of you. Name some things that had to be just chiseled off. You know, I don't know how a sculptor does it. I hear they see a chunk of stone. I see a slab of stone now. I want to make something out of it, but he already sees the final product. So for him, he says, I've heard people say, well, it's easy. All I got to do is knock off the excess wherever it doesn't belong. He sees the final product. I can't see that. He sees the final product and knocks the marble off, the extra. So what needs to get knocked off? I mean, it's going to make noise. It's going to hurt. Alcohol. You want to say something? Well, all the sin that can be in your life. Alcohol, drugs.
Temper.
Huh?
Temper.
Temper. A temper. You get angry? Anger.
Hate.
Pardon?
Hate.
Oh, hate. Hatred. And by the way, is hate a Bible word?
Yes.
Hate's a Bible word. Gambling. Is gambling in the Bible?
They cast lots.
Casting of the lot. In Proverbs, it's also called getting rich quick. Anybody wants to get rich quick? Trust me, the only way you're going to get rich quick is if your rich uncle dies. That's it, and he's left it to you. That's the only way you're going to get rich quick, or unless you reinvented the mousetrap. All right, it's not going to happen. So all this prefab happens here. All the ironing out, that every wrinkle and every spot is removed. Ephesians 5. The building of his house. 1 Kings 7, verse 1, of Solomon's house. But Solomon was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. It took 13 years to build it. I forget how long it took to build the house, God's house. It was shorter than that. Logically, how long would it take to build the temple? Now, they said, the Pharisees said to Jesus, 40 plus years in the building of this temple. You're going to destroy it and raise it up in 3 days. Not knowing that he was in reference to his, but about God's temple, the first one. Logically, if you were to guess it.
7.
I would say 7, the number of perfection, but I'm not saying that was it. But it was shorter than this 15 years. So it took 15 years. His display of wisdom, 1 Kings 3, verses 16 through 28, when the two harlots come to the Solomon's because the one woman overlaid her baby. And so both harlots had their own baby, and the one overlaid her baby, killed the baby, smothered it, went and took the other baby, and then there was a fight of whose baby it was. And Solomon says, we'll divide the baby in half, cut it in half, and then the real mother obviously wanted to save her baby, so he could discern which was the real mother. So I always tell all of my children, anybody asks, it never, ever take your baby to bed with you. All right? When you fall asleep, you fall into a dead sleep, the baby's crying, and you roll over, you overlay the baby, and you smother the baby. So we never, ever did that.
Don't take your cigarettes to bed either.
And don't smoke in bed. Don't smoke in bed. Well, that was a television ad.
Yeah.
That's a TV ad.
Do you know why it took 46 years to do Herod's temple?
Yeah, tell me.
A union job.
Okay. Yeah, that's funny. It was a union job. All right, his prayer and dedication is verse 22 through 54. I preached on that the other day with prayer, Solomon's prayer and the dedication of the temple. And that is the longest recorded prayer in the Bible. And then what is the shortest prayer in the Bible?
Be merciful to me, a sinner.
That's a good one. Be merciful to me, or God be merciful to me, a sinner. But that's a short prayer. But there's a shorter one. Huh? Pray? No, that's a command. No, Jesus wept. That's just a statement. No, a prayer. Lord, save me. When Peter saw the waves were boisterous, he was saying, Lord, save me. 3 words. And God heard that, obviously. Lord, save me. Shortest prayer. The longest prayer, shortest prayer. Visits from the visit from the Queen of Sheba. 1 Kings 10, this would be a type of visiting heaven. Verses 1 through 13. 1 Kings 10, verses 1 through 13. Let's see. If we just look at verse 7, she comes and brings all this stuff to give to Solomon. Howbeit, verse 7, I believed not the words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it. And behold, the half was not told me, thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard. That would line up, and I don't have it as a center column reference. It would be 1 Corinthians chapter 2, where it talks about how great it is that we can't know what lies ahead. And the next verse, I think that's verse 9, 1 Corinthians 2. It's the next verse. 1 Corinthians 2, I'll just go ahead and read that. But as is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered in the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. In other words, you and I have never seen it. It's gonna make our eyes bug out and our face turn blue. But the next verse is verse 10 of 1 Corinthians 2. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit. For the Spirit searcheth all things, yea, the deep things of God. We can know what awaits us on the other side, and it's described in words. But it says that the words cannot express it. There's no words that can really express truly how it is. But for us, it's been revealed unto us by his Spirit. In other words, through the Bible, whatever's written in the Bible is what we are expecting to have on the other side. And the half has yet to be told. If you go back here to 1 Kings 10:7. Verse 8 of 1 Kings 10. Notice what lies for us. Every tear will be wiped away. Happy are thy men, happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom. In other words, it will be joy unspeakable in heaven. In heaven. So the visit from the Queen of Sheba, and what also is noted about Solomon is his wealth and the tithes. By the way, how many times does 666 show up in the Bible?
Twice.
Twice. I think it's 4 times.
4.
And how much did Solomon take in gold in 1 year? 666 talents of gold. And so he's got a little touch of the no-nos there. And 700 concubines, 300 wives, 1,000 women. And what does it say about the women he takes? I think it's in Ecclesiastes. Strange, but there's a certain, not extravagant. It's like the word extravagant. They were. It's a single word. Huh? No, it was. I can't think of the word right now. They didn't look like your average girl. They were. It's in there. Maybe I'll find it and have it next week. Solomon's sin, it divided the kingdom. The division of the kingdom. 1 Kings 11, 9 through 13. And the Lord was angry with Solomon because his heart was turned from the Lord God of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice. How did his heart turn? What caused that? Pardon? Yeah, the women that he married, it would bring in the religion that they had. Such as he married the daughter from Egypt, Pharaoh's daughter, and so on. And they do that for to keep peace. They made all these alliances. All right. And had commanded him concerning this thing that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which the Lord commanded. He was worshiping under every tree. Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done unto thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant, my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant. So there's the curse. I'm going to give it to the servant, that'd be Jeroboam. Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son. In the end, it's really two. It's Benjamin and Judah. For David, my servant's sake, for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen. So he divided the kingdom. And he did what God commanded kings not to do. And we're going to end here. Deuteronomy, we're already 5 till. Deuteronomy 17, let's go there. It's in the law, verses 14 through 17. The love of money is the root of all evil. When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt prosper it, shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose, one from among the brethren. shalt thou set a king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. But he shall not multiply horses to himself. So what is horses today?
Tanks.
Tanks, lots of them. Lots of M1 tanks. Horses to himself. It's a sign of power, military might. In other words, you're trusting your military might instead of God. Nor cause thy people to return to Egypt, which they did, to the end as ye should multiply horses. He went there to get the horses. For as much, and by the way, how much did it go for? A chariot. I think $150 or 150 talents or something. I remember one pastor said that was what a used car was going for at that time. That he should multiply horses, for as much as the Lord has said to him, ye shall henceforth return no more that way, neither shall ye multiply wives to himself. He had 300 of them and 700 concubines. That his heart turned not away, that's what turned his heart, neither shall he greatly multiply him, greatly multiply. Didn't mean he couldn't have it, but greatly multiplied to himself silver and gold. He had 666 talents in 1 year. And it shall be when he sits upon the, and that's the end. All right, those were what he was commanded not to do. There's the 666, and it appears in 1 Kings 10, 2 Chronicles 9, Ezra 2, and Revelation 13. And we will end there today. So specifically, the horses he got, the gold and silver that he took, and the wives he took. We'll get specific next week and look up those verses, preaching in 10 minutes.